coming out to our brown bag talk featuring our next artist as part of our New Songs for Butte Mining Camp project. Clark is our 6th artist on this project, actually. The first 4 artists were funded by a grant from the Montana Cultural Trust, and then we have funding for 10 more artists under the National Endowment for the Arts. We're very excited to have Clark Grant as our second NEA artist. Our first one was Sean Amon last month, and the inspiration for this project, by the way, I'm Carrie Coe, I'm program director at the Clark Chateau, and this is Clark Grant, who will be our featured artist today, and he will...
Also our...
Oh, and our new, assistant director, is that the...
Yeah, believe it or
Assistant
not.
director at the archives here, yeah. So, double duty. I lost my train of thought after that. So he'll also be doing a full concert tomorrow night at 7 p.m. in the Clark Chateau ballroom, if you can get all the way up to the top of those stairs. I apologize, it's not very handicap friendly up there. But the inspiration for this project comes from a pamphlet I discovered. I read a couple journal articles a couple years ago about Butte mining and labor songs, and one of them mentioned this pamphlet that was put out by the industrial workers of the world around 1917, 1918, around the time of the Granite Mountain speculator mine disaster and Frank Little's organizing. And this particular pamphlet had lots of propaganda-type lyrics meant to radicalize Butte miners and hopefully have them join the IWW cause. So that became the title of this project. But there's actually, beyond this book, there's lots and lots of Butte mining and labor songs that were not put out by the IWW, that were sung as sort of folk songs around Butte. And so the idea for this project is to commission Montana musicians of a variety of sorts to look at this old music and reinterpret it in their own personal style. Now, Clark, being who he is, has gone in an especially creative direction with this, and I'm going to let him explain that to you. And that's totally fine with the project. So the idea is to get inspiration from looking and digging into the archives here and come up with new art and new songs for Butte Mining Camp. So with that, I'll pass this around if you want to look at it. It's a very rare thing, so be careful.
Okay.
Welcome, Clark.
Thank you, Carrie. Hey, you guys. All right. Fashionably late. Thank you very much, and I'm thrilled to be a part of this project, even though, as Carrie said, I may not have followed the exact parameters of the project. For that, I apologize. But in speaking with Carrie several different times about the direction I was headed and things I was thinking about doing musically for the project, she assured me that this fits within the bounds, so I'm glad for that. But just to introduce myself quickly, Clark Grant. Although musically I work under the moniker Catfish Carl, so I'm Catfish Carl today, and that's a nickname that I got as a kid in Oklahoma. So I'm not from Butte, but I moved here 8 years ago to help start a community radio station that's in the Carpenter's Hall. And yep, most of you in here that I know are involved one way or another. So, and part of the reason that I wanted to move to Butte is because of the National Folk Festival. And I was working for Montana Public Radio in 2009, and we were doing live broadcasts from the original. And in between broadcasts, and when I was not working, I'd walk around the uptown. And I was just so enamored with the architecture and the buildings, as everyone is, that comes to the uptown for the first time, just amazed at how much is intact, and just the staggering quality and quantity of the historic buildings in our historic district. So right then and there, I pretty much decided I was going to one day leave Missoula, where I was going to school, and come to Butte. And so that dream came true. 2013, we started a nonprofit organization. We built the radio station, and then I moved here in April 2014. Been here ever since. And my fascination with the historic buildings, like everyone, I saw the boarded up windows and broken glass on the sidewalks and the abandoned ballrooms, and I thought, man, we should fix this place. Why don't we just fix these buildings? And so our group at the radio station, in collaboration with the owners of the Carpenters Union Hall, over the last 7 years, we worked on the upstairs, and the second floor is almost completely restored, and we have tenants on there on the second floor for the first time since probably the late 70s. And then we're almost, we're rounding the corner on finishing the third floor of the Carpenters Hall. And so between that project and working on renovating historic homes with Butch and Gretchen, and my business partner Daniel Hogan, we are fixing a giant building in Walkerville as well. So I've had my fill at this point of tearing out lath and plaster and breathing smelter dust and understanding what it takes to really fix these buildings, which have been so severely neglected, many of them. And you know, anytime someone comes here now saying how much potential the place has, I always temper that enthusiasm. Well, you'll see what you're getting into, you know. But so as I began to understand more about Butte's history through living here and just meeting people, especially older folks, and talking to them, asking questions, and eventually doing a series of interviews, I began to realize that all these parking lots were once also magnificent buildings with great ballrooms and you know, amazing trim and double hung windows and all these things that take so long to painstakingly put together. And so then during the course of working at the station, we did a federal grant to do this project called the Verdigris Project, which some of you have participated in. Hi, Emma. And in the course of doing the Verdigris Project, we interviewed about 100 people. My phone needs to be put on silent. And in the course of doing those interviews, I began to learn more and more about all the fires uptown and how much of this town burned down and how many of those fires were probably arson, if not, you know, directly paid for by the Anaconda Company, then maybe clandestinely set on behalf of one entity or another. And I learned about, you know, Louis Markovich and Moon Labreche and all these guys that did so much to damage this town. And I just became really fascinated with this notion of all the fires. And I did a lot of research, a lot of reading, and a lot of interviewing just about the fires uptown. And to me, it's like, I don't know why, I just, from the moment that I set foot in the uptown, I really cared about this place and I wanted to help improve it however I could. And the fact that so much of it had been destroyed so violently through fire and arson really disturbed me, and it still does. And I just feel like there's a deep and tragic wound here from all those fires. And so I've kind of fixated on them, and if you ever go and listen to all the oral history interviews we did through the Verdigris Project, you'll see that almost every interview I'm like, so, the fires, even though it's not really on topic sometimes. I just want to know more about them. I'm fascinated to hear what people thought when they would stand there like at Park in Maine and watch the Medical Arts Building burn, and what was it like to see it on fire? You know, I was so just curious about this. And so in the course of that, I you know, began to understand really that this was, I think every urban area has fires and has, you know, urban decay and renewal, and but for a town of our size, I think we've had more than our fair share of fires. And so to demonstrate that, I got this list from Dick Gibson, who's a dear friend and a wonderful historian. And I will pull that up now. No. And so, I don't know if I can scroll. I'll just scroll. This will give you an idea. What is this? Get out of here. To the 1970s.
This is available in our files too.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
So it's a big long list, and all the more sad. And so in the course of doing this, writing my song, which I'm getting to, believe it or not, my song is about fires. And kind of the decline of the uptown. But it is a new song for Butte. So now I just wanted to show you some notable photos I think that I have come across in our collection here, and some pictures I've taken myself. of fires in Butte.
So this is the Bank Hotel. See if I can scroll right or left. Okay. Move the mic.
Where was that located?
Boy, I knew you were going to ask that. Yeah, I believe this one was on the southeast corner of Arizona and Park. And so Beaver Block, that's where Wells Fargo is. And so actually right here is the archives. And this one actually burned during demolition, so they were tearing it down already, and then it caught fire. Beaver Block. Beaver Block, that's become kind of a familiar sight in recent years, for me at least. Okay, the Boston Block. And this is kind of neat, and Bernie Boyle talked about this as a firefighter in his oral history, how to fight fires in the winter and it just everything freezes. So it's kind of interesting. And then the Butte Hotel, this is on Broadway where the big parking garage area now is, kind of by the Uptown Cafe. There's the Montana Power building across the street. And there it is. That's a good one. And there's the Herbert Tower in the background. Just take it in here. Yeah. Oh, God. And yeah, the Columbia Block.
The Greek restaurant.
Yep, pretty massive. The Empress Theater. And this one's in 1931. Franklin School. This one's especially tragic, I think, the Intermountain, because it was 3 buildings went at once. And that's there on the corner of Granite and Main, kind of. Yeah. There you go. Can you imagine walking down Granite Street and seeing those? I mean, yeah. The Irish Times, which was a more recent one. Luckily, it wasn't demolished, but pretty much there it sits today. Penny's Fire, of course. Oops. I mean, it looks like a war zone. Yep. I forget the name of this building. I call it the Joe Lynch building. But yeah, down there, the warehouse district, it collapsed, then it caught on fire. That was kind of neat. And there's a picture of it when it collapsed. That was right around the time I first moved here, so it really made an impression. I thought that photo was especially dramatic.
It's a beautiful building.
The Lennox Hotel, which is right across the parking lot from the Carpenter's Hall to the east. The water company's right there. Another one of those wintertime fires. And there they are tearing it down. The library burned in 1960. Longfellow School. This is kind of interesting, and I had never seen this photo. The McKee printing building was here, and that's the Lennox to the left. And the Carpenters Union Hall is visible on the right side of the photo. There, and the next picture is taken from the 3rd floor of the Carpenters Union Hall. And in that parking lot, which is there today, and there used to be, you can see the Cabin Bar is right here. That also burned, and then these 2 billboards, then the McKee printing block, then the Lennox Hotel, all those burned. Meterville Mercantile, of course, the Medical Arts Building. There are very few examples I've found just, in thinking about this, where a building burned and then that lot was redeveloped. But this is an example of that with the Northwestern Energy Building. And I guess the Phoenix Building came back. But yeah, Medical Arts, pretty dramatic. Would you rather have a J.C. Penney there or the Party Palace? I might go in at about the same amount.
Yeah,
Right?
it's the Vexall
The drugstore, yeah. And then the Pythian Castle, this one too is especially painful. This is the Silver Dollar Saloon right here. And so the Pythian Castle just dwarfed everything on that block. Yeah, it's up the one more after that one. And there it is on fire. And they tore that down. So yeah, look at just how jammed this whole block is. But now there's a big parking lot in this corner, of course, and then the Pythian Castle is a vacant lot, knapweed and garbage. The Vroom block is another one. Winter Garden Bowling Alley. And then we get into the M&M. And that's a bit, this really is beginning kind of the genesis of my song for that I'd like to perform for you today. But me and Daniel and many others stood out there all day long, and even when the rain came, and I stood there and just watched it burn, because finally I was like joining this club of people who live and work in Uptown Butte and get to watch it burn down. And then, yeah, the county brought in the Volvo, and that's all she wrote. And that's a picture Daniel took, which I thought was really nice. Another one. And unlike all these other buildings, which I'm nostalgic for, even though I never went in them, this is a place, where I went regularly and enjoyed spending time. And so, yeah, I've really gotten a taste of just how painful it can be, I guess. And I had a little video. Let's see if it'll play. If not, I won't mess with it. We'll see if it'll play. But this really, for me, was kind of a transformational day. This is right when it came down.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
Bricks spilling out into the street.
Oh, that hurts.
Indeed. And having laid a bit of brick in my time here now, you know how much it takes to lay each one of those to build a place, and for it to have stood for so long, and then in just one instant, bam, it's just gone, But, so anyway, that is that. Let me pull up a picture so we have something in the background while I'm chatting. Okay, just move my mic again. So this is the longest ever build-up to playing a song, but I hope it's worth it. The M&M fire, at that point in my life, I was dating someone who had moved away to Maine, and we were discussing, this possibility of me following her out there and this relationship continuing that had been so fraught, because forever we had argued over place, where are we going to settle down and live. And she didn't really want to spend her life in Butte, which I understand, and there's always more to the story, but basically the M&M fire shook my commitment to Butte unlike anything else ever has. And I realized that all these years we spent working on the Carpenter's Hall and on the building in Walkerville, one negligent accident and it can all just be gone immediately. And just overnight, it can be destroyed. And so I really began to examine my commitment to buildings more than people and realize, your relationships with people are far more important than any inanimate thing, no matter how historic or architecturally significant. And so it's important to remember that. And hi, how are you?
Sorry.
So the M&M fire really kind of changed everything for me. I'm still very committed to Butte. I did not move to Maine. I have no intention to. Sometimes things don't work out, and if you stick around, I'll play some songs about that. But,
Tomorrow night, right?
So, that day, standing on Main Street and watching the M&M burn, I overheard Selena say that the show must go on. Selena Pankovich, the owner, and I thought a lot about that, and I wrote a lot of notes that day of what would become this song that I'll perform for you. That's part of New Songs for Butte Mining Camp now. And just on top of that, since the M&M burned, we watched the Blue Range come down, even though, in my opinion, that building was completely repairable based on our experiences fixing other buildings. It was fixable, but the will wasn't there to do it, so they demolished it and threw it all in the landfill. And same thing on Park Street with 135. I might be so insane as to say even that building could have been repaired, because, if there's a will, there's a way. And so then the subsequent demolition of the thrift store buildings as well, to me, was very upsetting. And now it's a giant hole, another missing tooth in this toothless grin that is Uptown Butte. And so with those demolitions and all these fires and all the interviews, asking people to recollect this painful experience, I wrote this song. swung a beam and the sidewall fell. I asked myself, are these men skilled as those you'd hire if you had to build? They can easily wreck in a day or two what builders have taken years to do. And the show must go on as the fires bring it down. And we all know this city died. There's no stopping the great decline. Am I a builder who works with care, measuring life by the rule and square? Or am I a wrecker who walks the town, content with the labor of tearing down? Too many times we've seen it all, standing by as the stories fall, spilling bricks out in the street, acrid smoke, and it tastes so sweet. And the show must go on as the fires bring it down. And we all know this city died. And there's no stopping the great decline. And we all know this city died. There's no stopping the great decline. Should I play another one?
Yeah.
Okay. Since we moved all this stuff up here.
I have a question.
Okay.
I can barely hear your vocals because the
me point that right at
piano's
you?
so loud.
I'll
Can
turn
you
it over.
separate those a little bit?
Well, they're on separate amps here. How's this? Hi, how are you?
I'm swell, how are you?
Okay, hi. Let's see. Can you hear my voice now? Hear it fine?
That's
Okay,
better.
Great, sounds good. All right. This one's a little less downer, a little less of a bummer, man. All right. Yeah, this is one of those songs about drinking and carrying on.
Yeah.
Catfish Carl. Well, these hours I've been keeping are pretty strange. And I bet you never knew I'd carry on this way. Well, I'd be crying every night, sleeping all the day, if I hadn't found my way to that Spokane Strange. This new company of mine can't sit around and listen to the rain. And the hour's getting late, and you know that I can't wait to hit that door. Oh, I can change after one more night with my Spokane strange. Some mornings I wake up feeling half deranged. The day slips by and I've forgotten all the pain. And it's hardest most of all when that snow begins to fall and it's getting cold again. Why did I trade true love for that Spokane strange? Oh, Spokane strange. There's no one else I'd rather call. And I can change, but I found you, and baby, you have it all. And when I'm feeling down and out, and I know you'll come around one more time again, that's why no one else could be my Spokane strange. There it is. Maybe just one more? What do you say? Okay, one more. Lately I've been performing these songs with a band, which has been really fun. And my friend Eric Haywood or Ben Pickett will play pedal steel, and that really adds a lot. And then I have a drummer and a stand-up bass. And so, yeah, I hope to get all those guys together and perform for you again sometime. In the meantime, here we are. So this is another song kind of about Butte, at least the first verse is, and about lost love and because of Butte. Anyway, yeah, everything comes at a cost. All right. A lesser soul it will consume. A cell phone is a black hole. Gaze upon that terrifying beauty. They dig the hole for you. I feel a late morning coming on. A late night is a headache now. I'm borrowing trouble and I'm borrowing time. I feel a late morning coming on. Lingering love and futures unfolding. Played out ground where children unknowing. Hours of silence in this little room. Music is born, I sing to you. I feel a late morning coming on. A late night is a headache now. I'm borrowing trouble and I'm borrowing time. I feel a late morning coming on. again, Carrie, for inviting me to be part of this project.
Thanks for agreeing.
Yeah.
You want to open it up for questions?
You bet.
Anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you publish your lyrics somewhere? All of you guys?
Do we?
So we're doing formal recordings of all the songs, and those, as we get them, are posted on the Clark Chateau website, clarkchateau.org. And then we are saving the money from ticket sales for the concerts to hopefully press an album at the end of this, and we'll do an inside cover sheet with lyrics as part of that. Yeah, but we're not there yet.
I'll give you this copy right now if you want.
All right.
In looking at these fires, and I realize the recent ones are very accidental, grease fire at the M&M, or an unsafe electric heater,
Yeah.
something like that. But oftentimes, and even in the newspaper accounts from the big fires in the 70s, 80s, it's often either outright stated or implied that these were arsons. These were to recover the insurance. Butte was economically in such rapid decline that it was a way for landowners, right, to sort of get out.
Yep.
Did you take that theme on at all? Or?
Absolutely.
No.
That's the not even so unspoken truth of it, and common knowledge. If there were a couple of our oral history interviews where people would name names, and there was this guy, Robert Berry, who was known to be part of the ACM arson squad.
Right.
But that was mostly like in Meterville when they'd have a recalcitrant homeowner who wouldn't sell out, they just burn him out. And that was pretty common knowledge. And, the McKnights were implicated at one time in the Penny's fire, according to some. Others have just, I heard this term, the friction mortgage, where the insurance policy and the mortgage rub together and then it catches on fire. So that was another. Yeah, I think it's pretty widely understood to have been arson, for the most part, which is even more upsetting. Any other questions? Cool. Really appreciate you all being here. Marbud has a question. Yeah.
I guess on that note, your oral histories, did you, in asking about the fires and people kind of knowing that it was arson, was there any sense that these people, was anyone looking for some sort of justice in any way? Or was it just kind of it happened again?
Yeah, resignation was the predominant attitude, which I found even more confounding and upsetting, because I would want to know who burned my town down, who had a hand in that. And I think similar to the company buying people out and relocating people out of Meterville, McQueen, and East Butte and everything, it was just kind of understood that there was no fighting it. What are you going to do? That was kind of the attitude for the most part in the interviews we did. Yeah.
There was also, a lot of these occurred at the time where they were thinking of moving the city center down to the flat. And so
all the
there
more
was
easier.
that threat as well. So glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, Butte Forward is another.
Of course, most of us probably would not even be here. I wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here.
I mean, I come from
We're
Tulsa.
here for the same reason. You know?
Tulsa, Oklahoma looks like Harrison Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Every place in America looks like Harrison Avenue. Mm-hmm. I don't begrudge anyone who lives in the flats or whatever, and I patron the businesses down there, but, I don't live here because of Harrison Avenue. The historic district is where it's at, past, present, and future, in my opinion. So it's a damn shame so much of it burned down. John?
I was going to ask you, were there any groups back, like when a lot of these burnings were happening that were committed to investigating into that or saving any of future arson retaliation or whatnot?
There was a group that organized against Butte Forward, if you're familiar with that. Butte Forward was that plan Kim mentioned. To basically mine the hill, open pit. And there was an organization, I think Beverly Brothers was a part of it, that organized in opposition to Butte Forward. I haven't read too much about it, but really, I think it was up to the police, who in many instances were involved in the arson. So that is pretty upsetting. Yeah, I think Louis Markovich and Moon Labreche, when they did their plea deal to do federal prison time, ended up copping to 15 fire bombings in buildings uptown.
Well,
So-
don't forget the robberies.
Right, all the robberies and the pharmacy ring that they had going, so. Emma?
Beyond police involvement, do you have any sense that the government endorsed or sponsored or tacitly accepted these, like either the county, city or county or state or anything?
As a county employee, I can't comment.
Way to bring it to a head, though.
I don't think there's evidence of that, at least not that I've found, and I'm not the end-all be-all researcher on this topic, but no, I think, if you look at it, the dominant political forces in the state at that time were Anaconda, and Anaconda ran the state and this town, and so in that sense, the government might have been involved. If Anaconda had an incentive to get people off the hill so they could open pit mine here, but I don't think there's evidence.
Well, kind of, yeah, until the late 50s when Lee newspapers took over all of the Anaconda Company papers around the state, and that kind of changed things a little.
Yeah, because they control everything at that time, right? They perpetrate the fire, maybe, and then do all the reporting on it, and the police were in. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's a sad period for sure. But
The
great
city
deployment.
the city that, I'm getting my two hometowns confused. The city that almost ate itself, is that the name of it?
The city that ate itself.
That ate itself.
Yeah.
The city that ate
Brian
itself.
Leach.
Anyway, Brian Leach's book kind of addresses a lot of the great loss from the time of the pit forward. It's a great social history.
It
Well,
is.
that's the pit swallowing up all the neighborhoods, right?
Yeah, and what happened afterwards and everything.
That is a great book. And also
Mm-hmm.
Lost Butte, Dick Gibson's book, is great too. So. Anyway, well, I hope you all will come to the Chateau tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Okay.
And how
Hopefully we'll
much
see
is
you
it?
there.
$10.
$10.
Yeah.
Right. Do you have an elevator?
No.
Some hefty boys might carry
Yeah,
it.
we'll carry you up there. If I can get this thing up
Yeah, I'd
there.
like to see that.
Cool. And I'll be playing guitar tomorrow night as well, so it's switching back and forth. Thanks again so much. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
It's not in the elevator is about the question. It's just hard to figure out where to put it in that building. Well, yeah, it would have to go probably in the
Isn't there like one in the back?
Yeah, we come back to replace the wires. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. We've been looking at it for, 10 years. No, I mean, there is a dumbwaiter, but,
Are we still filming or is that?
and I think that's where a lot of.
Always good.
Not me. This is Carrie's.
Well, somebody got to do the work.
That's true. That's true.
Good job. Very good.
All right. Thanks for coming back, Jeff. Thanks for coming back.
You know I don't.
Today, I know, but this is like our bonus one.
Those slides
you
I
know
was
what? I don't know if we did because I do have a lot of interior slides that I think you gave me that I scanned.
I thought maybe.
Yes. Why is that?
I would love to hear